Good. This is Dvar Malchut. This is a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991. And it happened on that year that Tisha B'Av, which is commemorating the destruction of the first temple and second temple and the beginning of this terrible exile that we're in, Tisha B'Av fell on Shabbat. So the law is that if Tisha B'Av is on Shabbat, that we don't fast on Tisha B'Av. We fast the day afterwards. But it ends up that the date is Tisha B'Av, the worst day of the year, and we're rejoicing. We're eating meat and we're drinking wine, we're singing. And it even says more that when that happens is we have to be more happy to show that there's no sign of sadness entered into Shabbat. Okay, this hints at the fact that Tisha B'Av and the bad things about Tisha B'Av are not so real as we think, and not so permanent. They can be pushed away by Shabbat, pushed away. So the Rebbe said the fact is that when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, that only takes away the bad things of Tisha B'Av. It still is Tisha B'Av. It's the day the temple was destroyed. How can we be eating and drinking and be happy? Okay, it's Shabbat, but so what? The temple is destroyed. Doesn't that? So we'll pray the prayers of Shabbat or something, but it's a fast day. It's a terrible day. It says no. It comes out that Tisha B'Av, in fact, is a very good day, but it's covered over. It's covered over by the tragedies which occurred in that day. So how can there be tragedies on the outside, but it's really good on the inside? That doesn't make any sense. If it's good, so it has to be good, right? You can't come up to somebody and slap him in the face and steal all their money and say, no, this is really good. What I did to you is really a good thing. Let me give you another punch here, there. Right? Oh, nice ring. Take the ring, just to give you a little more good. So who needs good like that? That's good. Says, well, the destruction of the temple was. I mean, you realize what happened when the temple was destroyed? 2 temples. How many people were killed? How much aggravation, how much heartbreak that there was. Right? The Jews had to leave their homeland and they were taken into a strange country, and the second destruction, they were spread all over the world. And want to say that's for good? How can it be for good? So that's what the Rebbe is going to talk about. It says the Eloi, now that what we spoke about before. That on Shabbat, Tisha B'Av is stressed even more. The thing of eating and drinking on this day, like it says in the prophecy, that these days will be transformed to happiness and rejoicing. Kasher yeshnu a mitzvah, where there's the commandment of enjoying the Shabbat. To enjoy the Shabbat with eating and drinking, they should eat fish, drink wine, until that even regarding the Suda Shlishit, the third meal, the Suda Mafseket, which that's if Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, so there's the third meal. Now usually the meal that's right before Tisha B'Av, which that's going to be the third meal of Shabbat, is a sad meal. You sit on the floor, you eat, it says you eat just bread or something. So on this third meal, which is introducing us to Tisha B'Av is going to be on Sunday now, right? And this meal says you eat meat and you drink wine, right? You put on it says you can have a big meal, even like King Solomon. So we see from here that the day of the fast day, when it falls on Shabbat, not only does it take away the fast and allows us to eat, and the main thing, it takes away all the sadness of the day and it makes it happy and pleasurable. the pleasure that you get from eating meat and drinking wine, people who like drinking wine, we can say that on this day of fasting that falls on Shabbat, so you have to add on this even more than the rest of the days of the week. So that to remove any sort of a thought that maybe you're mourning, you're not supposed to show any sign of mourning on Shabbat. The explanation for this is, like I said many times, that a fast, the inside of the fast is something good. It's what's called Yom Ratzon L'Hashem. It's a pleasing day to God. A kavana panimis, the inner intention of this is that of a fast that should be revealed something that's good. Namely what? Like it says, these days will be transformed to holidays, days of joy and happiness, rejoicing. But that's the language that the Rambam brings, Maimonides brings, in language in his laws of fasts. Like and this is going to be revealed when in the future redemption, the geula amitit v'shlema, in the complete and true redemption by means of Moshiach. That's what Moshiach is going to do. He's going to make a happy world, because the inside of the world is good. The inside of the world is happy. The world is essentially a good and a happy place. This physical world. That's the whole idea, the inner point, the inner lesson of a fast day. Inner lesson of the fast day is that inside, everything is good. And this is found revealed when the fast falls on Shabbat, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat. And then is not just pushed away the refraining from eating. It's only pushed away the negative things, but not the good things. It's a good day for God. I once saw a book about losing weight, and the name of the book was "The Thin You Within You." The thin you within you. I've never really had this problem of being overweight, but there's people who definitely do have the problem, and it's not healthy, and it doesn't look good, and etc. And it gets so they have to fast, but it's very difficult for them to fast because they like to eat and also a little bit of food, their metabolism, and they identify with being fat. That's who they are. So it says no. This book said no. There's a real thin you within you. That's the real you. The real you is healthy and it's thin, and it's not to exaggerate. We're not talking about anorexia, but nevertheless to be thin, not to be overweight. That's the real you. That's the real who really you are. Really you are. On the outside, there's all this extra fat and this extra this and the overeating. That's not the real you. That's just an extra thing. Which that's the same thing like alcoholics. That's not the real you. That's just the thing that you got caught up in. It's not the real you. The same thing the Jewish people in exile. That's not the real Jewish people in exile. That's not the real them. This thing of fasting and suffering, that's not Jewish people. And the real Jew inside of this exile, the real Jew within you, I guess you say, is happy. Is happy. Every second is a surprise. It's brand new. What about the bad things that we did? Forget them. That's in the past. That's the idea of the fast day is remembering the past things that we did. That's the fast. But as soon as we forget about the past things, we only think about the good, then it's happy. Then it's happy. It's a good day. Adarabah. Heyo Shabbos, because every Shabbat is called a day that's pleasing to God. Chemdat Yomim Osokorota. It's the pleasure, the most precious of days. You have called it Shabbat, and it's a commandment to make the Shabbat pleasurable. Zel Yom HaKashur Im HaGeula. The Shabbat is a day which is connected to the future redemption. Hari as then Eit Ratzon Shatainit Biyoter Tseit Biyoter Oz. Then a fast day is what's called a pleasing day to God. Why is it pleasing? Because you're fasting, you're suffering, you're not doing what you want to do, and therefore why are you not doing what you want? Because that's what God wants. He said, yes, but the fact of the matter is that the reason you're doing these negative things is because in the past you did negative things. But once, essentially, the point of this day of Tisha B'Av is, in the past, you got into trouble because you did what you wanted. Today, don't do what you want. And that's what God wants. God wants you to refrain from your own pleasures. And instead, God gets pleasure. He gets pleasure when you're fasting. He gets pleasure. God gets pleasure. If you don't have to fast, then it's revealed God's pleasure. God's pleasure is revealed. Right? God is getting pleasure from the good things. That's the idea of Shabbat. Shabbat is God's day. Shabbat is God is alone on Shabbat. The fact is God is always alone. The world covers over this. But the fact is God is alone, and God is infinitely good. And so the world is also infinitely good inside. Once we reveal this, then the fast day becomes a holiday and a joyous day. Ume'ayin, something like the dugmas, and compared to kafishiyas b'mos Moshiach, like it's going to be in the days of the Moshiach. In the days of the Moshiach, the good is going to be everywhere. It's not going to be something that you do. It's going to be what you are. Va'az, pushing away this fast day by means of Shabbat. Now this year, of course, we don't push it away. We do fast. But the Rebbe did it back then, just showing that it is possible to be done. And not only that, it will be done. When Shabbat, the future redemption is going to be like Shabbat. And that's going to push away all the fasts, but it's even going to be more. All the fast days are going to transform to happy days. That's what it's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. That's what it is going to be in the days of the Mashiach. Kafisha Mugdash, like it is stressed very much in Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbat. It says that it's pushed away until after Shabbat. Says Rebbe in the Talmud says, since it's pushed away, let it be pushed away forever. Yesh Lomer, we can say that this is also found that it's specially stressed in the meal of Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbat. That in Tisha B'Av, there is a revelation of the birth of Moshiach, like we said before. And especially after midday, it says Moshiach is born. Zman Tefillah, in the prayer of Mincha, the end of the fast day. That's where Moshiach will be born, was born. Ubefrat, and especially the Surah Mafseket, Surah Shlishit, Shel Shabbat. In this case, it's the last meal of Shabbat, and this will be the meal of Shabbat, fell on Tisha B'Av when the Rebbe is speaking. The third meal of Shabbat, this is attached to the meal that's going to be in the future. The meal of Leviathan V'Shor Bar, with the Leviathan, this huge fish, and the ox, and drinking what's called wine that was kept from the 6 days of creation. These are all spiritual, Kabbalistic ideas, but it'll be revealed in physical. We'll actually eat a physical meal. It'll be a physical meal. Allah has come, much more so the third meal, that's the meal of Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, when Mashiach is born. So the third meal is called the meal of King David. We're escorting King David, the third meal. And that's a hint at the Menucha L'Chai Olamim, it's the rest forever, at the third meal. Also, the Malav Malka is also called Surah David Malka Mashiach. But the third meal hints at the third redemption, that's going to be by means of the Mashiach. So that's the third meal. So when the Rebbe is speaking here, that third meal was on Tisha B'Av. It was Tisha B'Av, the worst day of the year, and everybody's eating and feasting and being happy. And the Rebbe says that's how it's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. And especially it says on Tisha B'Av, Mashiach was born on. Okay, what's the Rebbe trying to do? The Rebbe is trying to make Mashiach a household word. Mashiach is going to be the goal of mankind. Right? People in America are waiting. I hope this guy gets elected. I hope my guy gets elected, right? The right is right. This guy on the left is like this. In Israel, they hope this guy gets elected, that guy gets elected. That's what they're thinking about. What can I do in order to, to promote this person? Well, the Rebbe said, that's all nice. You want to get involved. Okay, that's your business. That's not my business. Our involvement is Mashiach. We're supposed to do everything we can to promote Mashiach. It makes really no difference who gets elected in America and who gets elected and what the United Nations say and what the divided nations say and what this. It makes no difference. It makes no difference. Nice things you want to read in the papers, you read, but that's not really what's important. What's really important, the solution, is Mashiach. The problem is not the nations of the world and what they say and what they do. That's not the problem. That's the symptom. The problem is us, or more exactly, the problem is me. I have to do more. I have to more good, say more good, think more good, learn about Mashiach, talk about Mashiach, do everything I can in order to actually bring Mashiach. That's what the Rebbe is trying to do over here. He's trying to make it that Mashiach is not just a matter that the Rebbe is thinking about, or that it's written in books, and then one day he's going to come, he's going to be writing, my prince will come, he's going to be riding on a horse, on a donkey, on a rocket ship. That's not what we're waiting for. We're waiting for a massive change in the world that's going to be brought about by a person. Just like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, massive change. Brought the Jews out of Egypt, gave them the Torah. Only Moses could do it. Mashiach is going to make even a bigger change in the world. He's going to change our whole priorities. So the Rebbe said that's what's hidden inside of Tisha B'Av. Hidden inside of Tisha B'Av is this amazing change that's going to happen in the world for good. A happy world. That's when Moshiach is born, it says on Tisha B'Av. So what seems to be the worst really is the best. I mean, listen, when we get into it, the worst thing that ever happened to mankind is that you got born. As soon as you get born, that's terrible. Before your soul comes into the body, it's in the heavens, it's in this, it has no problems, it's born. The first thing you start off crying. The first thing you get introduced, crying. Right? That's how you begin the whole thing. Crying, weeping, miserable. It's terrible. I'm hungry. I'm cold. I'm alone. And this, what type of introduction is that? What type of that's it. You're married. The soul is married to the body. No choice. Have a good day. That's all. Right? That's terrible. So it says, really, it's the best thing that could possibly be. The best thing. Nothing could be better than being born. Human beings in this world, the best, holiest, good. There's problems. Yes. There's troubles. Yes. Right? And maybe logically you could say, let's put an end to it. Right? Let's not have any more children. And if we all the people that do exist, maybe let's get rid of them somehow or other, Let's say water down the population of the world. Let's water it down. And there's good reason for saying that. Life is suffering and there's a lot of problems, and etc. Says the Rebbe, no, exactly the opposite. There's the greatest good possibly in being born and being in this world. Being in this world, the best thing in the world. But it's covered over by all sorts of negative things. That's our job, is to remove the negativity. Yeshlom, we can even say more. Shakasha, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, then the fast is pushed away to the 10th day. Then there is the advantage of the number 9 and the 10th day of Tishrei. What's Tishrei? What happened? What's in the 9th and the 10th day of Tishrei? That's 10th day of Tishrei is Yom Kippur. And the 9th day is the day before Yom Kippur. What's so special about the 9th day? The main thing is Yom Kippur. No, it says anyone who eats and drinks on the 9th day, it's treated as though you fasted for 2 days in a row. Because in the Torah it says, Mitisha, B'chodesh Rishon, B'tisha, B'chodesh Me'erev ad Erev, says from the 9th day. So it's not clear. What do you mean? From the beginning of the 9th day you have to fast, or the end? So it says no, you only fast for 1 day, Yom Kippur. Why does it say you should start fasting on the 9th? Because eating on the 9th is considered to be like fasting on the 10th. So the holiest day of the year, it pushes away Shabbat. It's more holy than Shabbat is Yom Kippur. So it says that's the connection between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. All the fast days are all from the rabbis. They all have a connection, and there's something like, and they're made in like the image of the rabbis. When the rabbis made all the other fast days, Yud Zayin Tammuz and etc., is they made them something like the fast day of Yom Kippur, the fast day of Yom Kippur is the only fast day that's from the Torah. Can you do it like it's known? Shekol mitzvahs, all the commandments which are from the rabbis, they try to make it similar in some ways to those of the Torah. It says that the commandments of the rabbis are all drawn from the commandments of the Torah. One minute, what happened over here? Oh, here, good. Among these 4 fasts that the rabbis made up, the holiday of Tisha B'Av is the most similar to Yom Kippur. When the rabbis made decrees, they tried to make it similar to the Torah, and the decree that they made that is the most similar to that of the Torah is Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is 1 full day fast. All the other fasts the rabbis made up are only from the morning, and Tisha B'Av is from the night from before, 1 24-hour period. There's no difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, etc. Tisha B'Av, the night is like the day, and everything. And what Bein Shemash Shalo also, and before Tisha B'Av, right before Tisha B'Av is also you have to start eating a little bit early. Of course, on Tisha B'Av, it's permissible to drive in your car and things like that. You can't do on Yom Kippur, but except as far as the fast goes, they're the similar. Especially what the rabbis say that on the 15th day of Av, the 15th day of Av, is it's the happiest day of the year, the 15th day of the Av, that in it, they fixed up all the things that happened on the 9th day of Av. It says the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur are the happiest days of the year. It says Loya Yom Tovim, so like the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur was happy because the high priest went into the Holy of Holies and he brought forgiveness for all the Jewish people. That's why Yom Kippur was a happy day, even though everyone was fasting. But it's not fasting from sadness like Tisha B'Av. It's fasting from happiness, that we know that God is going to forgive us. So Yom Kippur was the happiest day of the year. There was another day that was equally happy, and that is the 15th day of Av. What happened on the 15th day of Av? It says that's when the moon was full, a sign that there's hope, that even though the temple was destroyed on the 9th day of Av, but the 15th day of Av, the moon, which is compared to the Jewish people, is full. And there's also a lot of other good things that happen on the 15th day of Av, 15th day of Av. But inside, what are we learning from this? That Tisha B'Av is similar to Yom Kippur. Now, what happened on Yom Kippur? The high priest went into the Holy of Holies. That's where the Torah was given. That's Yom Kippur. On Tisha B'Av, also something good happened. What? The Moshiach was born. That's what it says in the Talmud. Then at the time of exile, we don't see it. It's covered over but it's revealed on the 15th day of Av. When the moon is full, then there is an elevation and a completion of the moon, which is Malchut. And this is the level of David, Malka Mashiach, King David, who was the King Messiah. We learned in the Maimonides, remember? We learned in the Maimonides that there was 2 Mashiachs. The first one was King David, and we're waiting for Mashiach ben David. So it says Mashiach will be revealed on, was born on Tisha B'Av, and it was revealed when the moon is full on the 15th day of Av, after the tremendous descent and the concealment, which was in the month of Av. But nevertheless, it says that Nebuchadnezzar came and he destroyed the temple in the month of Av. Said Nebuchadnezzar was called the lion, and he destroyed the lion, which is the temple. It's called Ariel, the lion, in the month of Av, which is the zodiac of the month of Av. The constellation, what is it called? The astrological sign of the month of Av is a lion. So it's that the lion came and destroyed the lion in the month of the lion, Almanat, in order that there would come the lion, which is God, in the zodiac of the lion, which is the month of Av, the Yivane Ariel, and he will rebuild the temple. And so, in other words, the destruction was in order that the temple should be built. So, ma'ayin, something like this is when Shabbat, Tisha B'Av, when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, like it was when the Rebbe was speaking. It's in a revealed way, and what's revealed? Only the inner good, the birth of the Moshiach, which happened on Tisha B'Av. Therefore, there were no better days for the Jewish people than the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. 15th day of Av, this is the revelation of the moon, which was concealed when the temple was destroyed. But Mashiach was born on the Tisha B'Av. On Tisha B'Av, it's revealed on the 15th that then there shines a revealed revelation of godliness without any end. And that's the whole idea of the building of the third temple. Lochen, therefore, the greatness of the 15th day of Av is compared to Yom Kippur. Because what was Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is the Holy Temple Day. That's the day that all the Jews went to the Holy Temple and they watched the Kohen Gadol go into the Holy of Holies, the only day that anyone could go into the Holy of Holies. And that's attached with the revelation of the level of Yechida, the Mashiach, which that's the Yechida, that's the inner level of the soul of all of the Jewish people, is revealed in what's called Penimiut Atik, the inner level of what's called God's crown, which this is something like it's going to be revealed in the future. So on Tisha B'Av, and that's the day that says that was going to begin the coming of the Aryeh, which is God, and he's going to build the Ariel in the month of the Aryeh. He's going to come and build the Holy Temple in the month of Av, and that's revealed on Tu B'Av. It began on Tu B'Av when the moon is full. And Yom Kippur, that's the day when the high priest went into the essence of the Holy Temple. That's the Holy of Holies. And we can add on that this is that we're going to come now to what's called the Shiva de Nechamta, the 7 Shabbases of comfort. And I think we're going to stop here. We're going to stop here, and we're going to continue, God willing, tomorrow. What's the Rebbe trying to point out? He's trying to point out, look at the whole picture. Look at what's going on inside. Don't only look at what's on the outside, the veneer. On the outside, the temple was destroyed. Tisha B'Av is a terrible day. It's a worst day of the year. We should be mourning. We should feel bad. We did sins. We're sinners. We're awful. We're terrible. All we have is just to suffer and to ask God to please forgive us. Maybe he'll give us a gift. That's on the outside. That's on the cover. But on the inside, we're saying, no, the Jews are beloved by God. God is infinitely good. God wants to build the third temple. He started building it when the temple was destroyed. God wants the Moshiach to be revealed. Moshiach was born on Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is a full day fast, just like Yom Kippur, when the high priest got forgiveness for all sins, went into the Holy of Holies. Look at the inside of what's going on, and you won't feel so bad. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Not only you won't feel bad, you'll feel happy. I mean, maybe I can give you a small example of this even right now. I think I talked about this last time, but the Iran and Syria, they're saying they're going to bomb Israel, and they did. I think they shot all sorts of missiles into Chulon, all sorts of. So like I say, I go out and I do Mibtzoim on Friday. I go put on tefillin on people in this big marketplace, and the marketplace was unusually empty. And somebody said, "Well, don't you know that everybody's afraid? They're all afraid." So I come to Kfar Chabad. Nobody's afraid. Everybody's walking around. What? Nobody's afraid. I mean, I generally am not afraid of these things. I don't hold with these things, but I figured somebody else, maybe everybody wore masks with the corona. I said, why? They said, listen, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that Eretz Israel is the safest place in the world. That's what he said. Right? The Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't say anything about the corona, about the safest place in the world is Israel. So we're not afraid. In other words, externally, it's terrible. He said Iran has who knows how many millions of rockets they got. They got money without any end. America gave them billions of dollars, and they have themselves from the oil and from the. And the Jews are like their target. That's a public enemy number one. All the missiles that they've got are only for the Jews. They just want to shoot them for the Jews. And now he said, I'm going to use them. I'm going to use them all. No, I'm not messing around. I'm going to use them all. So all the Jews got scared. You hear this? The leader of Iran. But the leader of the Jews, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, said there's nothing to worry about. But what about Iran? That's only on the outside. Israel is holy. God is watching us. I don't see any God. I don't see it's holy. It's just like everything. Look in the inside. The inside is the land of Israel is holy. God is always with us. The Lubavitcher Rebbe is always right. And all the nations want to scare us. Let them do it. They have free will. They can do whatever they want. But it's not going to succeed. They can't succeed. Don't be afraid. Don't let their external be your internal. Your inside has to be what the Rebbe says. Nothing to worry about. And in the end, they didn't shoot anything on Shabbos. And I mean, unfortunately, they did kill two people in Chulon, which there's no explanation, for that. They killed these two people. But I mean, they shot 1,000 missiles.
That wasn't a missile, it was a stabbing attack.
Oh, that's right. But they shot missiles also. That's right. These guys got stabbed, right? But the whole earth is of, how many Arabs there are in Israel? There's like 2 million that are living here that are citizens, so to speak, of Israel, right? And all of them, if the Hamas would win, all these guys would be against us in a second. 1 second, no problem, of course. No problem. It's just insanity to let them all here, right? And to let them, they have the biggest mosque the second biggest mosque in the world or something. Is like in Lud. Did you know that? The second biggest mosque, I think, in the world is in Lud. You have to look it up, but it's huge. It's massive, massive. And these people, and they don't do anything. Any one of them just go to a hardware store, go into the kitchen, take a knife and stab people. What's the problem, right? We're living on pure, amazing, open miracles. But the big thing is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be a fool. But maybe being the biggest fool is to be afraid unnecessarily. Because what's the purpose of life if you're going to be afraid all the time? That's not really living. And especially when there's no need to be afraid. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second, here we go. Stop.